Good evening. Welcome to Inside City Hall for Thursday, August 20th, 2025. I'm Errol Lewis. Ingrid Lewis-Martin, one of Mayor Adams' longtime allies and former top aides, has pleaded not guilty to new corruption charges. She was in court earlier today for the indictment, where prosecutors allege that Lewis-Martin took $75,000 in bribes and even secured an appearance on a television show. Our Ayanna Harry was in the courtroom and joins us now to break down the case in tonight's top story. Good evening, Ayanna.
Good evening, Errol. She was the second most powerful person inside City Hall. Tonight, Ingrid Lewis-Martin is fighting to clear her name and to stay out of prison. Manhattan prosecutors claim she violated the public trust over and over. With her head held high and hands cuffed behind her back, Thursday, Ingrid Lewis-Martin walked back into a Manhattan courtroom where she faced 4 newly unsealed indictments. Manhattan prosecutors claim Lewis-Martin traded her influence as the mayor's chief advisor for $75,000 in bribes, thousands in catering, and even a role on the hit Hulu series Godfather of Harlem.
Hi, Grumpy.
Lewis-Martin pleaded not guilty to conspiracy and bribery charges. Former Manhattan prosecutor Jeremy Saland points out,
she's facing, theoretically, as a first-time offender, no incarceration if convicted, but up to 2 1/3 to 7 years on Class D felonies.
Prosecutors claim Lewis-Martin repeatedly violated the public's trust, saying she took cash to steer migrant shelter contracts, accepted home renovations after helping a developer fast-track city approvals. She's even accused of trying to derail the safety redesign of McInness Boulevard in exchange for cash.
We all know that you hold the public, public servants, whether elected or otherwise, to a higher standard.
Denying wrongdoing, Lewis-Martin's attorney told New York One in a statement her only so-called offense was fulfilling her duty, helping fellow citizens navigate the city's outdated and often overwhelming bureaucracy.
Anything you'd like to say to the people of New York City?
In a statement, a spokesperson for the mayor noted Adams is not accused of any wrongdoing in the case. Lewis-Martin left her City Hall role in December, just before her indictment in a separate corruption case. In an interview last month, the mayor defended Lewis-Martin still volunteering with his re-election campaign.
There's something in the city and country that's called due process.
Also facing charges in this corruption probe, Lewis-Martin's son, who's accused of helping facilitate bribes, 2 real estate developers, the owner of a TV and film production company, and Adams administration official Jesse Hamilton. After he left court, Hamilton resigned from his role as Deputy Commissioner for Citywide Administrative Services.
I think that he deserves the benefit of the doubt. He's maintaining his innocence.
Again, the mayor is not suspected of any wrongdoing in this case, and all 7 of the defendants who appeared in court today pleaded not guilty to the charges filed against them. All 7 expected back in court for hearings in September, Errol.
I know it'll be a while before we hear their full-throated defense, but I know a lot of these folks from Brooklyn politics. They've been friends for a long, long time. I guess from their point of view, they were just doing favors for each other the way they always have, right?
I think what Manhattan prosecutors point to is an exchange of cash or exchange for other services for, city approvals being fast-tracked. So that's really at issue, not that someone, to help somebody get a project approved, but there was an exchange, a quid pro quo, right, as Manhattan prosecutors are alleging in this case.
Yeah, right. I mean, some of it, because we've reported on it, is without a doubt. I mean, Ingrid Lewis-Martin inserted herself into the process to kill that bike lane or some of the redesign up in Greenpoint, right?
Right, and the company that she was doing it on behalf of, according to this indictment, was a TV and film production company, and they're saying as part of, in exchange for them getting the redesign killed, Ingrid Lewis-Martin was on this television show. They're also claiming that she received cash in exchange for her services. So, again, this is 4 separate indictments that were filed today, in addition to the indictment that was filed last December, and my sources in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office tell me that they are continuing to look into allegations surrounding Lewis-Martin.
Okay. Thanks very much, Ayanna. Separate from today's indictments, the mayor is dealing with a troubling episode involving another longtime advisor, Winnie Greco, who gave a reporter a potato chip bag that was stuffed with cash. Greco denies that the cash was an attempted bribery, but she's now been barred from volunteering for the mayor's re-election campaign. Our Bobby Kuza joins us now with more on that. Good evening.
Good evening, Errol. Winnie Greco, just another official in Mayor Adams' orbit who was caught up in all these federal investigations. Now she's been ensnared in this episode that to all appearances looks like it was an attempt to bribe a reporter, although she suggests it was all just a misunderstanding. Winnie Greco, a longtime advisor to Mayor Adams, who served as his director of Asian affairs, was already a source of controversy. Her homes in the Bronx were raided by FBI agents in February of last year, after a series of investigative reports and the online news outlet The City raised serious questions about her conduct and her campaign fundraising on the mayor's behalf. Greco resigned last October, but in recent weeks has resurfaced as a volunteer for the mayor's re-election campaign. And on Wednesday, after Adams opened a new campaign office in Harlem, Greco sought out Katie Honan, a reporter for The City, and insisted she accept a bag of hers sour cream and onion potato chips.
I said, no, you should take them. I don't want them. I don't want them. And she told me to have them, walked outside. And then at the top of the 125th Street 2-3 station, I looked inside the bag, and that's when I saw the envelope, which I really hoped was information or a story or something, but instead it was cash.
Honan tried unsuccessfully to return the money, which included at least $100 bill and several 20s. When reached later, Greco was apologetic and said she'd made a mistake. Her lawyer in a statement said the incident was being blown out of proportion, saying, quote, "In the Chinese culture, money is often given to others in a gesture of friendship and gratitude. And that's all that was done here. Winnie knows the reporter and is fond of her. Winnie's intention was born purely out of kindness."
She didn't say anything to me to intimate like that she would want some sort of favor or anything in the conversation. I understand in Chinese culture, at Lunar New Year and certain festivals and at weddings, money in an envelope is exchanged. Usually not that much. And also it's not the Lunar New Year, so I don't know within this context. And it's usually not given in a potato chip bag.
The mayor's campaign said in a statement, "We are shocked by these reports. Winnie Greco holds no position in this campaign and has been suspended from all volunteer campaign-related activities."
Want to take a break before questions?
Former Governor Andrew Cuomo tweaked Adams by handing out chips to reporters at a news conference.
Sometimes a bag of potato chips is just a bag of potato chips.
Reached for comment, hers, the potato chip maker, said, "While we can't speak to the details of the story, we can confirm that our sour cream and onion flavor is money." Now, the journalists at the city said after this happened, they reached out to the city Department of Investigation, and they were then visited by an investigator from the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District, who basically took custody of the bag of chips. So we could see this very well become part of a larger investigation.
Yeah, I mean, the question on the table, because Katie reports on a lot of aspects of the city administration. I don't know that she had any particular investigation going on that would involve Winnie Greco.
Right, but the city as an organization did. I mean, they have done really some of the toughest reporting on Winnie Greco. I think they really, broke the news of some of these conflicts of interest and some of these, ethical questions about her conduct while she was working for Mayor Adams. So, if you wanted to bribe somebody, it would make sense that the city has been, with some of the toughest coverage, maybe you want to try to influence. But again, I mean, they deny, Winnie Greco and her attorney deny that, there was any sort of malfeasance here and that this was just her seeking friendship. This was sort of a token of friendship.
Her role in this administration and its campaign, it's always been a little bit sort of cloudy or questionable, right? I mean, she was in the administration, she was getting a six-figure salary, but then she was also a volunteer, and she's also been a fundraiser for him. It's never clear kind of what hat she's wearing when you see her.
Right, and she's been close with the mayor for many, many years, dating back to his time as Brooklyn Borough President. But she's been close with him. If you look at the video from his inauguration, not his inauguration rather, but in Times Square after New Year's Eve on 2021, she's right there with them, right? She's one of his closest aides who's there to celebrate. And then she was on some of these flights overseas.
She arranged some of them.
She arranged some of these flights overseas. So she is close with the mayor. Like you said, she's worn a lot of different hats, but she resigned last fall, and it seemed like maybe she was out of the picture. Then she was back on the campaign. Who knows what's going to happen now?
Okay, thanks very much, Bobby. We're going to take a break now. When we come back, our coverage of all of this will continue with reaction and fallout from some of the candidates in the race for mayor. Later on tonight, I'll be joined by City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams. We'll talk about the charges against the mayor's associates and much more. Stay with us.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day. With in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One. Weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
What do we have going on here?
Well, I heard you guys talking about online threats, so I built an internet for it.
We have Spectrum, so our internet blocks threats automatically.
Oh.
But the internet is full of trolls, so you keep a lookout.
On it.
If it's connected, it's protected. Spectrum Internet with advanced Wi-Fi.
I'm Sandra, this is Jorge, and we were adopted in 2019. I remember when they first came to us, Michael was already a teenager. The whole cliche of they're so lucky to have you guys, and it's the other way around. They have changed our family for the better. They chose to love us. They didn't have to. They chose us. Family.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning.
You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Not surprisingly, the mayor's rivals in the race for mayor have seized on the latest round of scandal and corruption allegations swirling around City Hall. They wasted no time in slamming Mayor Adams for his history of remaining loyal to questionable allies. Our Kelly Mena joins us now with some reaction. Good evening, Kelly.
Good evening, Errol. And the mayor may be done with corruption, but it's not done with him. The new indictments facing his allies have only provided political ammunition for his rivals in the race for mayor.
It is embarrassing for the city of New York. It's sad for the city.
Mayor Adams' rivals are seizing on the latest corruption charges circling his administration.
This makes it a mockery. It plays to the worst impression that you could have. It feeds the worst cynicism. It's all for sale. Government for sale.
Cuomo himself has had a close brush with bribery schemes. His ex-top aide, Joe Percoco, was convicted of receiving hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes in exchange for political influence with the Cuomo administration. Percoco was sentenced to 6 years in prison in 2018 and was said to refer to his bribes as seedy. Percoco was released in 2023. The Supreme Court later threw out Percoco's conviction. Despite the mayor not being accused of any wrongdoing, Cuomo said the corruption case is another sign of why Adams shouldn't be reelected.
I don't think Eric Adams is a viable candidate for mayor.
Right now, New Yorkers are paying the price as another flurry of indictments continue to erode their trust in our democracy and distract from an affordability crisis that demands action and urgency.
Other candidates in the race, like Zohran Mamdani, used the indictment as another example of corruption plaguing the Adams administration. The mayor was once facing his own federal corruption case before it was dismissed in April.
Our city deserves to have a mayor who spends time with their constituents, not stuck in courtrooms. We need a new era of leadership.
Meanwhile, Republican candidate Curtis Lewa slammed the mayor for his loyalty to his friends. Ingrid Lewis-Martin remains as a campaign volunteer in his re-election bid.
He surrounds himself with cronies who are corrupt. He had a rebirth, a resurrection. When Cuomo loses the primary, he gets a restart. Who gets that? And he brings them all back. There was Winnie Greco, there was Ingrid Lewis-Martin. People were saying, why are you bringing them back? Oh, they're friends. Yeah, friends who like to put their beak in the trough.
And the mayor himself has not publicly made any statements about the indictments today or any of the other scandals swirling around his administration outside of some statements, Errol.
So in most cases, it sounds like their statements were really more about Adams than about the people who are actually in court today.
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, the thing about these indictments that were unsealed today, it follows a pattern. This is not the first time we're hearing about corruption, not the first time we're hearing about briberies. And I think that's what the candidates were seizing on, this idea that the mayor is saying he's turned this new leaf over, he's reformed, but keeping these people back in that inner circle is just not helping him. And in an election season, any moment you have to go after your rival when they're weak to put them down is an opportunity for you to rise.
Okay, thanks very much, Kelly. We're going to take a break now, and when we come back, prosecutors are alleging that Adams' aide, Ingrid Lewis-Martin, obstructed the redesign of McInness Boulevard for personal gain. We'll explain that part of the story in 2 minutes. Stay with us. This election year is all about New York City. There are 51 council seats up for grabs, races for our next city comptroller and the next public advocate.
Plus, an unprecedented race for mayor. That puts the power in your hands to decide who will run our city.
Our team of political experts will be covering every angle of this election to keep you informed on how it could affect you, so you can feel confident with your decision at the polls.
Stay with Spectrum News New York 1 for Decision 2025, exclusively on Spectrum.
We chose Spectrum Business because every second matters in our operation. We need a network that can move as quickly as we need to.
We are a takeout restaurant. Half our business is online. So we needed something dependable, reliable, with great service.
The state-of-the-art facility depends on a state-of-the-art network to support classroom engagement.
Join the network made for business with solutions made for every size. Visit spectrum.com/made for business to get started.
Mom was always organized, but she started forgetting to pay her bills on time. And she'd buy the same gifts over and over.
Telling the girls about my Alzheimer's diagnosis was really hard.
At first, we had our cries, but then we were like, okay, let's make a plan. Early detection gave us time to adapt together.
It's so important for you to think about what you can do and making the most of what you have.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
From my time growing up in Queens watching New York 1 to my time reporting here, I've seen how quickly a story can change. At News All Day, we bring you the news as it's happening, from around the boroughs to local government to your neighborhood. Because our city never stops moving.
3, 2, 1.
Hi, I'm Shannon Ferry with the day's developing stories. But first,
stay up to date and informed with News All Day, weekdays from noon to 4.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall, where we have more on tonight's top story. The indictment against Ingrid Lewis-Martin includes an accusation that she interfered in street safety projects in exchange for money from the owners of a powerful Greenpoint film production company. New York 1 Transit reporter Samantha Liebman has more from lawmakers, activists, and exclusive reaction from the city's transportation commissioner.
The McInness Boulevard redesign was finally implemented last fall after years of activism and the death of 3 people in 10 years.
Make McInness safe!
But also after City Hall changed course twice.
Every elected official who in Greenpoint supported the plan. 10,000 neighbors signed a petition in support. We held rally after rally, event after event, demanding this plan, and the Department of Transportation put forward a smart and thoughtful plan to make it happen. The mayor had supposedly supported it, and then Ingrid inserted herself.
It was already known by elected officials that Lewis-Martin squashed the plan for 1 traffic lane in each direction with pedestrian islands and a parking protected bike lane in each direction. The opposition included the owners of a nearby film production company, Broadway Stages, Gina and Tony Argento. The indictment against them, unsealed Thursday, alleges Lewis-Martin took bribes in cash, clothing, and even movie roles from the Argentos to kill the safety upgrade.
She made very clear that she was stopping this project. And You know, we called it out at the time. We organized protests at City Hall. I'm relieved that she will have to face accountability for prioritizing herself over the safety of the Greenpoint community.
DOT came out with its proposal in May 2023. By July of that year, it was killed. A compromise proposal then came out in October 2024, just days after investigators raided Lewis-Martin's home and seized her electronic devices.
It was the fact that it involved like a part in a television program, but you know, as sort of comic and absurd as some aspects of it is, ultimately it's incredibly sad that this street is much more dangerous than it needs to be. And we're talking about real New Yorkers' lives. People have to live in that neighborhood and cross that street.
The indictment mentions the City Department of Transportation 9 times. Commissioner Yordanis Rodriguez would not comment on the matter.
Would you have anything to say about this?
Like, I focus on all the work that we have. I had hundreds of projects in front of me. I had to make decisions. I had to rely on the expertise that I have at DOT.
While there is 1 lane of traffic and 2 protected bike lanes on McInness from Collier to Meeker Streets, advocates say the northern section has been left unsafe.
This fight isn't done. You know, there's a chunk of McInness Boulevard that still is wider than the community wants it to be, than DOT had proposed it to be.
Samantha Liebman, New York 1.
It is time for a break. Coming up, we will turn to some major rezoning approvals by the City Council that were passed last week. I'll be joined by Speaker Adrienne Adams in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
My time at New York 1 has shown me that in the city that never sleeps, the news never stops. So as the day winds down, turn to the rush hour.
Good afternoon, I'm Monica Burke.
To catch up on the stories that matter across the 5 boroughs, with in-depth interviews from the city's newsmakers, plus the latest forecast. Catching you up with today, preparing you for tomorrow. Right here on the Rush Hour. Weekdays from 4 to 7 p.m.
Are you ready for the ultimate entertainment experience? Spectrum is bringing together the streaming apps you love. Plus, live TV for sports, entertainment, and news. All in one place, across your devices. So no matter when or where you are, it's all here.
Sides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. My service never stops.
At Spectrum Noticias, we recognize that our New York City community is vibrant and diverse.
Spectrum Noticias delivers balanced coverage of the stories that matter in our communities and across the country.
Our journalists are based in the neighborhoods we cover, ensuring you get in-depth reporting on what's happening in the places we call home.
So join us at Spectrum Noticias. We're always on, always there for you.
Now available on your TV. Check your local listings. Also available on the Spectrum News app.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. Last Thursday, the City Council approved 2 major rezoning proposals, one in Midtown South and the other for Lenox Hill Hospital on the Upper East Side. Those projects are only possible because the City of Yes housing amendments that were passed last year are a big part of the legacy of this council. Here to talk more about that and much more, we've got the Speaker of the City Council, Adrienne Adams, the proud mother of all of this. Welcome back to the program. Good to see you.
Always great to be with you.
Before we get to the good stuff, let's talk about some of the bad stuff. We saw Deputy Commissioner resign and was indicted today. We saw the mayor's former top advisor also indicted today. Just wondering what your reaction is to that.
I think it's such a sad day for New Yorkers. It's such a sad day for our city. New Yorkers want to believe in their leaders and their leadership. And I continue to say this. New Yorkers don't deserve scandal, corruption, all of this being pinned on them. Now, because of this continuation of this, of this activity, New Yorkers are going to get that splash. Something that nobody deserves to get. And New Yorkers need to be able to trust their leaders, trust their elected officials, trust the people that they put in power to represent them and to represent our city. And it's just very sad.
You're too polite to say so, but you did have a line during the Democratic primary for mayor where you said you were going to stop the nonsense and stop the chaos and corruption.
Yeah, that was my hope. Because we have seen this, primarily from this administration, and it's a shame that we are continuing to see this continuance of this and this backlash. Again, this is going to be that splash up, unfortunately, for over 8 million New Yorkers.
Let's move on to what the council's been doing. You approved the Midtown South rezoning plan, you meaning the council. What was the biggest hurdle in getting that done?
Oh, the biggest hurdle in getting it done, of course, was coming to agreeance with our garment district for our prized garment district and those that have been working for decades in the district. And this project was so big, Errol, it didn't take just one council member, it took two to get this thing across the finish line. We are so proud to have it done. We are so proud that we were able to collaborate with the garment district to ensure those protections for them, as well as ensuring affordable housing that is going to be monumental for the area.
Moving up to the Upper East Side on 77th Street, Lenox Hill Hospital, the expansion of that, there's a residential component as well, right? It's not quite as big as the hospital had at first hoped, but it's substantial.
It is substantial, and we're talking about Lenox Hill Hospital, a hospital that's been around forever, as we know, I believe 1869, if I'm not mistaken. And there were amenities that were made, the height came down. It's been in the works for a long time, but this is a hospital, a very, very substantial hospital in the area that needed to be modernized. Needs to be modernized for New Yorkers, for those that are coming in that are seeking health care. And this is what the council was seeking to do, and we got it done. You
know, it's really quite a sector over there. I had for a couple of different reasons, had to go to a couple of different healthcare facilities up there. And you start walking from the subway and you start realizing it. These are big, modern, expensive buildings. There's a lot of money and a lot of jobs up there.
Yeah, completely. And with this growth of this hospital, we're going to see even more of the same. And we just want to have the best healthcare facilities for our New Yorkers.
You know, since we're talking about development projects, Resorts World, they have a casino proposal. We had them on earlier this week, and that happens to be in your district.
Yeah.
Do you support their plan?
Well, I'm indifferent. I remain indifferent, you know, as a council member, as the council member of the Great 28, the district that I so proudly lead over these years. But I do have an appointee to the CAC, to the Community Advisory Council, who is going to oversee part of those proceedings, and we'll see what's going to happen. We know that, you know, ultimately these licenses are all up to the state, and we're going to sit back and we're going to watch. But Resorts World has done very well by our Queens, Southeast Queens area.
Yeah, in fact, I guess that's what I'm getting at. Have they been a good neighbor? Have they come through, as far as you're concerned, on promises of jobs and so forth?
They really have, and it's been a tremendous collaboration between the city and the state, with our state partners as well, who will agree, because we've been, meeting with them over the years, and what they would do and promises that they would make to the community that they have fulfilled, and they've been very good partners.
You've got some council business coming up. Override votes, I guess, I don't know if you've scheduled them yet, for vetoes that the mayor has already issued, one of which would deal with decriminalizing street vending. I was wondering what you think the fate of that is, and why you feel the council might need to override this veto.
Yeah, you know, this is a head scratcher for us. We collaborate with all of our legislation with the administration. So when we take a look at the vending bills in particular, these are pieces of legislation that were collaborated with very closely with the administration. As a matter of fact, there was a working group within the administration, along with the agencies, that agreed with this legislation. So it was baffling to the council to see the mayor, in essence, veto himself, veto his own administration that agreed with the legislation that we all put forth together to create a better vending system overall. There are still pieces in the pipeline for the vending system, but this is certainly a piece that needs to happen, and I'm very, very positive that the override will be successful.
Same issue on, I guess, raising wages for delivery workers, grocery and delivery workers.
Yeah, very interesting. Very, very interesting that corporate interests would take precedence over fair wages for delivery workers. If we think about the weather even that we had last night, the torrential rains that we've had, I don't know about you, Errol, but I don't want to ride an e-bike through the rain to deliver someone's food, someone's groceries. So we are talking about these workers that sometimes get $8 and change as salary and depend on tips. That is not a living wage for anybody in New York City, much less for someone that is traveling in torrential rains to make sure that other people are fed. And now, in essence, we have a veto to stop them from having food on their own tables in the interests of corporate interests that want to put their own profits in their hands. And I want to say this too, you know, the app organizations do not set grocery prices. What they do is they set their fees. So if we're talking about fees being passed on to folks that are ordering groceries, those fees are coming from those corporate entities. That is where those fees are coming from. That's got nothing to do with the price of groceries.
Okay, very good. We'll be watching for those votes. Later in tonight's show, we're going to be talking about a lawsuit against the Adams administration for not meeting goals and deadlines for the Commission on Racial Equity. Now, as the speaker, you appoint 5 of the 15 members of the panel there. Have you heard anything about why this is even happening, why government is suing itself, why the commission hasn't been able to move forward?
This is something else that's mind-boggling. You know, this is something that the voters said that they wanted to happen. They wanted to see how New York is treating its people when it comes to racial equity and where the gaps are. We know that there are gaps, obviously. So this is something the voters said had to happen via ballot proposal, and now we have an administration that is saying, no, we're not going to do this, or yeah, we've got it, but we're not going to show it to you. That is not acceptable, and that is not okay. And I am in full support of, you know, the commission that is demanding that this report be brought forth. New Yorkers need to see this. We need to see what New York is doing to handle racial inequity in all sectors of this city. I think that it will be a tremendous model for the rest of the nation. Why this administration is afraid to show that, well, I have my own thoughts about it.
Yeah, well, share those thoughts, please. I mean, is there something about the re-election campaign that is feeding into this, do you think?
Well, I think it plays a part in it. I think that the Trump administration and its denial of DEI, I think all of these pieces are a part of this puzzle, or can be a part of this puzzle that is keeping this information from the public that said that they want to see it. So when we take a look at the administration, the relationships that we know have been bonded with the Trump administration, the fact that this information is not wanted by the Trump administration, we can start, you know, speaking about the Smithsonian and a lot of other things that are being denied the American public from truths that the American public need and deserve to see. To me, this all falls in part and parcel of that.
Well, this is an important moment. And in fact, frankly, I could ask this to a lot of people, but you're in the chair, so I'll ask you. When it comes to the extraordinarily high levels of black leadership, all of the different positions and, you know, the growth and the history-making elevation of the first black woman to lead the city council and so forth, this is a season where there are a lot of attacks coming out of Washington.
That's right.
There are law firms running scared. There are universities running scared.
That's right.
There are people dialing back what had been commitments to racial justice, racial equity. What does that mean for those of you who have stepped forward and said we will be leaders from and for the black community?
What it means is that we have got to stand strong in our strength. And I want to say this also. We don't say this often enough. Let's speak the words Project 2025. You know, those words were spoken a lot during the presidential campaign. We stopped talking about that once this president was elected. This is a blueprint that is being put forth now across this nation by no accident. The organizers of Project 2025 have groomed a host, and it is their perfect host in the name of Donald John Trump, who now leads this nation, the leader of the free world. We need to speak Project 2025, and for those that are not educated on what is between those pages, you need to read it and realize that this is unfolding. And we've got to figure out how we are going to combat this that is now going through this entire nation. So it is not just me as a black leader, It is the majority of black leadership across this country and the entities that are protecting it that are affected by this administration.
Okay.
Project 2025.
Well, before I let you go, have you made an endorsement for mayor? Are you supporting the Democratic nominee?
Well, I said initially I'm a lifelong Democrat, and whoever that nominee is, I will support that Democratic nominee, and that is who I am supporting. I am not an independent. I'm not a Republican. I'm not in anything other than a Democrat.
Okay. No qualms about being with Mr. Mamdani?
He is the Democrat that the voters elected. Come November, I believe that the Democratic nominee will be successful.
Okay, we'll leave it there for now. Thanks so much for coming by. Have a great rest of the summer.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's take a break now. When we come back, the finding that President Trump inflated the value of his properties and assets still stands, but the $500 million penalty that he was on the hook for has been thrown out. We'll explain that in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
If it's the theater you love, then we've got just the ticket. On Stage is your all-access pass to Broadway, off-Broadway, and the best live entertainment in the city. The interviews and backstage exclusives. All that's made On Stage the go-to source for entertainment for over 20 years. Join us every Saturday and Sunday at 7:30 p.m. for On Stage. Also available on the Spectrum News app. I'll see you at the theater, exclusively on Spectrum.
I'm kind of a deal hunter. I like to make sure we got the best deal.
We used the Spectrum Savings Calculator before. I learned that since we're existing Spectrum Internet customers, we get a mobile line for a year.
Having a line for a year would be amazing. I looked at you and I said, how is the savings so substantial?
Switch and save with one mobile line included with your internet service, backed by the Spectrum commitment to keep you connected.
I'm an ex-drug dealer, and I'll be your sub today. 2 milligrams of fentanyl can be lethal. A lethal dose is in here. Who gets it, I won't know.
It's cheap, it's potent, and it's profitable. The sad reality is fentanyl is being mixed into everything now.
More kitchen now.
My father was a New York City firefighter. My mission, like his, is to serve New Yorkers in a city that doesn't stop when the sun goes down. Being with New York One since the beginning, I'm now honored to join you even earlier each weeknight. Starting at 8 with New York Tonight, we'll explore the latest news developments, followed by New York One at 10 to wrap up your day. So join me each weeknight starting at 8 right here on New York One.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. A divided state appeals court here in New York has thrown out the massive $500 million civil penalty that a judge assessed against President Donald Trump just last year. But the court left intact the underlying trial verdict that Trump committed fraud by inflating the value of his properties for years. Kevin Fry in our Washington, D.C. bureau reports more. Good evening, Kevin.
Yeah, good evening, Errol. Of course, that penalty, the financial penalty, had been growing due to interest over the course of the last year. But it did take these judges the better part of a year to actually come to this quasi-agreement to advance this. This was a very convoluted, more than 300-page ruling, and the judges were not all on the same page.
Thursday's decision stems from a civil case brought by New York State Attorney General Letitia James and tried in New York City early last year. A state judge found President Donald Trump and his family business engaged in years of fraud by exaggerating his wealth to obtain favorable loan terms. A 5-judge state appeals court panel spent a year deciding this case. In their lengthy decision Thursday, the judges called the $500 million penalty issued by the trial judge excessive. President Trump declared, quote, total victory, writing, "I greatly respect the fact that the court had the courage to throw out this unlawful and disgraceful decision that was hurting business all throughout New York State." In her statement, James said the court upheld the injunctive relief we won, limiting Donald Trump and the Trump Organization officers' ability to do business in New York. She continued, "It should not be lost to history. Yet another court has ruled that the president violated the law and that our case has merit." She made no mention of the court tossing the penalty, but said she would appeal. From their 300-page ruling, the appeals court panel was sharply divided on many aspects of the case, some calling James's lawsuit justifiable, some calling for a new trial, another arguing the case should be tossed out entirely. One judge in particular took issue with James, who pledged to investigate President Trump during her 2018 campaign for Attorney General. Still, they agreed to let the fraud judgment stand.
And now, of course, President Trump has repeatedly called the civil case political, though since he has returned to the Oval Office earlier this year, he, of course, has really amped up the pressure on James, including his administration, the DOJ, issuing subpoenas for documents tied to this civil fraud investigation. A lawyer for James has likened this to essentially political retribution by the DOJ, by the Trump administration. Again, as to where this stands right now, it seems in all likelihood that this is now going to be heading to the next level of the appeals, essentially New York's top court.
Yeah, and Kevin, that in part is why, even though a plurality of the judges here didn't think that there was a lot of merit in the case, they chose to let the verdict stand so that it could make its way to this highest court and get a final look.
Yeah, I mean, that essentially seems to be how they ultimately came to an agreement to even come together on this 300-page document, that they ultimately concluded that they will find a way to set it up so an appeal can actually happen and then send it off to the final court rather than continuing basically negotiations over what to do about it.
All right, thanks very much, Kevin. We are going to take a short break, and when we come back, the city's Commission for Racial Equity, CORE for short, is suing the Adams administration over a delayed report. I'll be joined by the current chair of that agency in 2 minutes. Stay with us.
As native New Yorkers, the weekend team at New York One is here to be a voice for your community.
Our focus is to uphold the journalistic principles our network was built on.
Using our years of local reporting experience to take on important issues across the 5 boroughs. Morning, noon, or night, it's in-depth coverage that prepares you for the week ahead.
Spectrum News New York One, weekends, starting Saturdays at 7 a.m.
Available on all your devices exclusively on Spectrum.
Every day tells a new story. At Mornings on One, we're dedicated to bringing you the stories that matter most to start your day with in-depth coverage of the day's developing news.
I'm Pat Kernan. Here are the stories we're following this morning.
And weather updates every 10 minutes.
Some morning sunshine possible, clouds take over.
It's our responsibility to get you the information you need before you head out the door. Mornings on One, weekdays starting at 6 on the Spectrum News app. Free for Spectrum customers.
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. An independent city agency called the Commission on Racial Equity is suing the Adams administration for its failure to release a plan addressing racial disparities in the city. Now, back in 2022, voters overwhelmingly backed a charter revision proposal that mandated that the city release reports every 2 years. But now, more than 500 days later, no report has materialized. As part of the lawsuit, the agency is calling for the court to order the release of the plan and declare the delay to be illegal. The Adams administration says that this lawsuit is, quote, misguided. Joining me now to talk about this is a special panel. Linda Tagani is the current chair and executive director of the city's Commission on Racial Equity. Jennifer Jones-Austin is here. She is the CEO of the Federation of Protestant Welfare Agencies organization, but she was one of the organizers that helped create this commission. Thank you both for being here. And take us back through this, Jennifer. This was created, I guess, officially and legally during the first year of the Adams administration, but its origins really predate this administration,
yes,
right?
So thank you for bringing us to the table this afternoon, this evening. In 2021, in the wake of the killing of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, when the nation was just, struggling with what to do, grappling with the issue of persisting racial inequity, then Mayor Bill de Blasio established the Racial Justice Commission, appointed 11 commissioners. I was appointed the chair, and we were charged with going into the New York City Charter, that's the Constitution, to look at how we could embed racial justice and equity in core government functioning. What resulted? 3 ballot measures, one of them to establish a mandate that every 2 years, the City of New York release racial equity plans, and that there would be a complementing Commission on Racial Equity that would hold the city accountable for releasing those plans and making sure that they adhered to the will of the people of the City of New York.
Mm-hmm. And so now that hasn't happened, but the committee consists, correct me if I'm wrong, 15 members, 7 are appointed by the mayor. So it's essentially his commission. 5 are appointed by the Speaker of the City Council. We just heard from her. 1 by the Public Advocate and 1 by the Controller. So this, in effect, is something that the mayor has had some input into, but I understand there were delays in making the appointments and now delays in providing some of the basic information that the commission needs in order to function.
That's correct. So the mayor has delayed this process from day one. I myself was appointed after the first legal deadline. So I was appointed after October 1st of 2023, which was the first deadline to release community equity priorities, which are essentially a list of actions that the public wants government to take in order to improve their well-being. Mm-hmm. And the charter specifically states that communities that we would identify as marginalized or vulnerable, and what we call at the commission, communities harmed by racism and social injustice. What is it that they need in order to be able to thrive? And the Racial Justice Commission really provided a framework by creating a preamble that was passed by the people on what does thriving mean. And so when the ballot measures were passed, the ballot measure said, do you want a true cost of living measure to be released? And that also is supposed to be released on an annual basis. And the mayor is over 400 days late on releasing that, and there is no current release date. That report is still in progress. And the mayor has delayed hiring me, appointing commissioners, and allowing the commission to start the work. And all of that is laid out in our lawsuit, including that we released a demand letter that was released by our attorneys, Andy Celli. There was no response to that, and so we had no other choice but to sue the administration to ensure that this report is released.
I feel like I might be missing something here because we covered the election in 2021. I don't remember the mayor or any other candidate saying, we don't like this idea of this commission. We're not going to cooperate. We think it's a waste of money or whatever you might. I don't understand what the source of the problem is, and I guess that's why you sued. You're trying to get to the source of the problem.
You don't remember because it didn't happen. That didn't happen, and it didn't happen that the mayor actually spoke in favor of the commission and of the mandates that were passed. We've never had the mayor speak on behalf of the commission in support of these plans that were passed over, these measures passed overwhelmingly by New Yorkers. So it has been an uphill battle from the very beginning. And now we find ourselves in a situation where racial equity the pursuit of racial equity that we've seen over the course of the last several decades, it's being obliterated. At the federal level, some states are doing it, and when New York City has the law on its side, when New Yorkers said, we want racial equity in our government functioning, we have a mayor and administration that is essentially standing in the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, I looked up some of what you all went and found when the commission went out and held hearings and tried to get from the community what is. This is not groundbreaking stuff for New York. Fund communities harmed by racism and injustice to shape and get updates on New York City government plans. Remove the gaps in race, gender identity, sexual orientation, age, and disability in city pay, promotions, and contracts. I mean, that's the law anyway.
Yes.
These are not things that most New Yorkers, I think, would find objectionable or even extraordinary.
Not in the least bit.
I would go so far as to say that while we have over 4,000 New Yorkers specifically that responded to the Commission on Racial Equity, including the thousands of New Yorkers that Jennifer Jones Austin and the Racial Justice Commission reached out to, their voices are completely being disregarded, right? So although the mayor may not come out directly and say, I don't support racial equity or I don't support equity, he is obviously bending towards the federal government in this moment and pulling back on DEI, on racial equity work, stalling wherever possible, and also has degraded decades of police accountability work. You know, as we announced our lawsuit yesterday, we also heard from the police commissioner that she's keeping Lieutenant Jonathan Rivera, who was found by her own deputy to be guilty in the killing of Alan Felix. There's a news article that came out today that said now school safety officers are coming out of a community-based unit and are moving to the chief of department. We're seeing inroads that this administration has taken to create new paths for injustice rather than listening to the will of the people when they say we want more investments in our schools and to end segregation, and instead we have more officers in our schools, and we have a specialized high school that only took in 8 black kids for this year.
I mean, it's too easy to sort of pin this on whatever relationship this administration now has with the White House, because this predates the Trump administration.
Indeed,
right?
Indeed. When the mayor says in response to the lawsuit that they're vetting it again and again and again because they do not want to risk any funding from the federal government, you know, if the federal government were to not agree with the racial equity plans, that is gaslighting. Let's just call it what it is. It's gaslighting because these plans are more than 500 days overdue. The true cost of living is more than 400 days overdue. The President of the United States has not been in the White House yet for better than 300 days.
Right.
So this is gaslighting. For whatever reason, this mayor and this administration have determined that it is not in the interest of this administration to release these plans and to actually bring about a true cost of living.
Well, I mean, you've worked in government for a long, long time. Is this them maybe not wanting to find problems that the public will then expect them to fix?
I think it can be, especially when we talk about the true cost of living, if we just jump in there for a moment. The true cost of living measures to be centered in economic security. When we see that across New York City, not just people with low income, but people who are middle, sometimes even upper middle income are saying, we're struggling to make ends meet, that true cost of living measure will look at what are the challenges and what has this mayor done about them. So I think that that's one of the reasons why that is being upheld. And then I think with the racial equity, this is a mayor who campaigned on this, but what does the record show about what he's done about it? So maybe he wants to push back for that reason.
Yeah. Is that going to hurt him with black voters, do you think?
This is what I believe. I believe that the more informed black voters will see this as an issue. Now, those who are just, you know, look, and I say this as a black woman, those who just vote based on racial identity may not see this as an issue. Those who are concerned about the issues and about leadership that actually works in the best interest of those who've been made vulnerable will see it as an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I got to think it's got to be disappointing and maybe frustrating for you and your staff, right? I mean, you've sort of made a career move in the direction of trying to address these issues, and it's hard to get it done if you're not getting some level of cooperation from the other side of City Hall.
Absolutely. We have been working with City Hall for over 20 months, and we have given them grace, and we have established new deadlines, and we're at the point where they're not willing to give us even a tentative release date, which is why we brought the lawsuit. I do want to note that the public is very clear on what government is doing that is racist and unjust. And so when the Adams administration sees this as a possibility to not identify problems, it's really them ignoring the problems that the public is acknowledging and bringing to their attention. It's a complete disregard not only for their voice, but for them as New Yorkers. And at a time when we are increasing separation of families, because we are allowing ICE to come in, we are increasing incarceration, we are increasing policing, and we are disinvesting from social services. It not only sort of upsets and is a struggle for us at the commission, both our staff as well as our commissioners, who were appointed to do a specific job, and who would ask me time and time again, when is the plan coming out so we can do our core function, which is respond to the plan with the people's voice.
I think in short, we could simply say that the failure to release the plan is not about the people, it's about politics.
Okay, we're going to leave it there for now. Thank you so much for coming by. Best of luck with all of this. That is going to do it for tonight's show. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great evening. We'll see you next time inside City Hall.
And that's a look at some of what's in the papers this morning. You done with the sports section?
Today's story is about the latest chapter for a beloved local business.
It's a beautiful day with temperatures in the 60s, but showers are expected in the next hour.
In a city that's always on the go, it's important to stop to hear the stories that connect us.
The news that matters to New Yorkers. That's what brings us together. That's Mornings on One.
Weekdays starting at 6.
Exclusively on Spectrum.
We chose Spectrum Business because every second matters in our operation. We need a network that can move as quickly as we need to.
We've built some clientele that are not local, and live streaming is the way we connect.
We are a takeout restaurant. You order your food online, half our business is online. So we needed something dependable, reliable, with great service.
The state-of-the-art facility depends upon having a state-of-the-art network to support classroom engagement.
When we had our grand opening, we needed to be able to operate from day one with ease.
Join the network made for business, with solutions made for every size. Visit spectrum.com/made-for-business to get started.
This election year is all about New York City. There are 51 council seats up for grabs, races for our next city comptroller and the next public advocate.
Plus, an unprecedented race for mayor. That puts the power in your hands to decide who will run our city.
Our team of political experts will be covering every angle of this election to keep you informed on how it could affect you, so you can feel confident with your decision at the polls.
Stay with Spectrum News New York 1 for Decision 2025, exclusively on Spectrum.